George Washington famously warned against ungenerously throwing upon posterity the burden which we ourselves ought to bear. Liberty, when it begins to take root, is a plant of rapid growth. Be courteous to all, but intimate with few, and let those few be well tried before you give them your confidence. Arbitrary power is most easily established on the ruins of liberty abused to licentiousness. Hence, likewise, they will avoid the necessity of those overgrown military establishments, which, under any form of government, are inauspicious to liberty, and which are to be regarded as particularly hostile to republican liberty. In this sense it is, that your union ought to be considered as a main prop of your liberty, and that the love of the one ought to endear to you the preservation of the other. Every day the increasing weight of years admonishes me more and more, that the shade of retirement is as necessary to me as it will be welcome. The reflection upon my situation and that of this army produces many an uneasy hour when all around me are wrapped in sleep. Few people know the predicament we are in. Let your conversation be without malice or envy, for it is a sign of a tractable and commendable nature, and in all cases of passion admit reason to govern. A man ought not to value himself of his achievements or rare qualities of wit, much less of his riches, virtue, or kindred. It is of infinite moment, that you should properly estimate the immense value of your national union to your collective and individual happiness, that you should cherish a cordial, habitual, and immovable attachment to it, accustoming yourselves to think and speak of it as of the palladium of your political safety and prosperity, watching for its preservation with jealous anxiety, discountenancing whatever may suggest even a suspicion, that it can in any event be abandoned, and indignantly frowning upon the first dawning of every attempt to alienate any portion of our country from the rest, or to enfeeble the sacred ties which now link together the various parts. Interwoven as is the love of liberty with every ligament of your hearts, no recommendation of mine is necessary to fortify or confirm the attachment. For myself the delay may be compared with the reprieve, for in confidence I assure you, with the world it would obtain little credit that my movements to the chair of government will be accompanied by feelings not unlike those of a culprit who is going to the place of his execution, so unwilling am I, in the evening of a life nearly consumed in public cares, to quit a peaceful abode for an ocean of difficulties, without that competency of political skill, abilities, and inclination which is necessary to manage the helm. The great mass of our citizens require only to understand matters rightly, to form right decisions. Men may speculate as they will, they may talk of patriotism, they may draw a few examples from ancient story of great achievements performed by its influence, but whoever builds upon it, as a sufficient basis for conducting a long and bloody war, will find themselves deceived in the end. We must take the passions of men as nature has given them, and those principles as a guide which are generally the rule of action. I do not mean to exclude altogether the idea of patriotism. I know it exists, and I know it has done much in the present contest. But I will venture to assert that a great and lasting war can never be supported on this principle alone. It must be aided by a prospect of interest or some reward. For a time, it may, of itself, push men to action, to bear much, to encounter difficulties, but it will not endure unassisted by interest. If the cause is advanced, indifferent is it to me where or in what quarter it happens. It is better to be alone than in bad company. Harmony, liberal intercourse with all nations, are recommended by policy, humanity, and interest. The gradual extension of our settlements will as certainly cause the savage, as the wolf, to retire, both being beasts of prey, though they differ in shape. We should not look back unless it is to derive useful lessons from past errors, and for the purpose of profiting by dearly bought experience. There might, gentlemen, be an impropriety in my taking notice, in this address to you, of an anonymous production, but the manner in which that performance has been introduced to the Army, the effect it was intended to have, together with some other circumstances, will amply justify my observations on the tendency of that writing. With respect to the advice given by the author, to suspect the man, who shall recommend moderate measures and longer forbearance, I spurn it, as every man, who regards liberty, and reveres that justice for which we contend, undoubtedly must, for if men are to be precluded from offering their sentiments on a matter, which may involve the most serious and alarming consequences, that can invite the consideration of mankind, reason is of no use to us, the freedom of speech may be taken away, and dumb and silent we may be led, like sheep, to the slaughter.